What's up, family, friends, and foes? It's your girl, Philly Cigar Join.
And your guy Chief with another episode of Sticks, Brims, and Stilettos. So you know what time it is. Grab your glasses and your sticks, and let's get ready to smoke another hot topic. Welcome back, family. Thank you for joining us on Sticks, Brims, and Stilettos as we bring you another exciting show with special guests this evening with very useful information, and I think that you'll find very interesting and very helpful.
Yeah, I agree with that, Chief. The guest we had today, I really think her information is going to hit home for a lot of people because it's something that we definitely need to talk about more, especially in the Black neighborhood. So I'm very excited about our guest that we have on the show today.
Absolutely.
So once again, you know what I gotta ask, Chief?
Oh, what you gotta ask?
I'm loving that. And then I see the little green feather on the side, trying to match my dress. I see what you're doing.
Yeah, a little green feather, mix it up a little bit.
I see.
Gotta coordinate the hat a little bit with a little bit of feather here and there.
A little bit.
Yeah,
so what you wearing?
Yeah, this little derby here is a Marcos derby. So yeah, it's I typically like the bigger, wider brims, but I do like a nice smaller hat every now and then with the smaller brim. And what do you have?
With the shades on.
Oh yeah. What do you have on those lovely feet?
You think you handsome tonight, folks? That's what it is. I'm trying to show out.
Now that's not true. I think I'm handsome every night.
Oh yeah, yep. So there it is.
Not there just tonight.
People. Oh, okay. Excuse me, Mr. Handsome, 24/7.
Absolutely,
okay.
Absolutely. Even when I'm singing in the shower, still handsome.
Oh, excuse me. All right now.
So what you have on those feet tonight, there,
Philly? I have on my feet. These are my special stilettos that I got when I visited Italy this summer. These are my Rossi shoes, and I am loving these. I stepped into the shoe store and I saw these, and they were like
calling your name.
They were calling my name, like
okay.
So I had to. Once I tried them on, and I love the fact that the back of these you can flip this up. You can have bunny ears, and they're very comfortable too. So ladies, yes.
That was my next question.
Yeah.
They were calling your name from the shelf. I was just wondering if your feet are going to be calling your name from the ground, but if they're comfortable.
No, these are one of my comfortable pairs.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome.
So I think it's about that time. What do you think?
I think it is about that time. I think that we have gotten our viewers and family used to that time.
I do believe, and I'm quite sure they know what time it is too. So we all know that right about now, it is crazy story time.
So let's take a look at this crazy story.
You seen this stuff?
Well, family, each week, the story gets a little crazy. But I don't know, that story about the breast milk, that still lingers. That was great.
Yeah, that one. I didn't have no words for that one.
I had no words for that one either. I think it spoke for itself.
And guess what? So does this one.
Yeah, it does.
So viewers, let us know how you feel about this crazy story for this week. They just get better and better. I tell you.
Or worse and worse.
Or worse. Right, or worse.
Or
right?
crazier and crazier.
Yeah, that's the better word.
Yeah.
So when we come back, we're going to introduce our guest for this evening.
Can't wait. See you in a few.
welcome back, family, friends, and foes. And as we stated, we do have a special guest with us this evening. And she has a lot of accolades, she has a lot of letters behind her name. So I'm going to let her introduce herself. This is Miss Katrese Carter-Robinson. So welcome, welcome, welcome. We are so
Thank
pleased
you.
to have you with us this evening. And before we jump into the questions, why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself, your background, and how did you land in this space?
Okay, all right. Well, first, thanks you guys for having me here. It's a pleasure. So glad you guys invited me tonight. Again, my name is Katrese Carter-Robinson, and I'm a licensed clinical social worker from South Jersey. Obtained my graduate degree actually from Rutgers University School of Social Work. So way to go, Rutgers, Camden campus, right?
Yeah.
But I think I've always gravitated to wanting to help people. My mom was always helping people.
Yes.
I would even question sometimes, why? Who is she helping? Like not even realizing it's a stranger. It's this person. So I feel like once I realized that was part of my calling, I was able to kind of leave the financial world and shift over into this. And this feels a lot more natural for me than where I was before.
I love it. I love it. We need more people like you in the world today, especially in the Black community.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So an important topic. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I just want to start off with asking, have mental health issues increased after the pandemic?
They have. They have increased. Overall, the World Health Organization has said there's been a 25% increase in just mental health, and that's globally.
Oh, wow.
And remember, that's just for those that came forward. There's
Yes.
so many different factors for individuals that are not placed in those numbers. But just looking at this 25% increase just from the World Health Organization, it's staggering to hear that number and to know that's not taking into account everyone.
Absolutely. And like you
Yeah.
said, it's only those who have come
Who have
forward.
actually come forward, right? And 10% of those individuals were actually saying they don't even feel like the treatment was what they needed. Right? So you have people coming forward, and then they're still feeling like something's not happening either with the connection with the therapist or with the therapeutic model that's being used.
So that brings us to our next question.
Yeah, that brings me to my next question. So when they say that they don't believe, 10% don't believe that they gained anything from it or that it didn't work, in your practice, what do you do to start to build that relationship with your clients from a therapeutic position to build and gain trust with the person to be able to help them navigate whatever it is that they're sitting in front of you seeking to get help with?
First, just my training, especially going into the social work field and understanding you can't dictate anyone's process.
Right.
And we always say the hardest part is just coming through the door.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So if that's all you have in you today, then I'm willing to be there. We can sit there quietly.
Mm-hmm.
That might be what you had to come that day. My thing is we have time. Now we do have the time to really put the work in for services. Some therapeutic processes are a couple of weeks or a couple of months. Now being in private practice, this is for as long as the person is able to commit to services. Right. Unfortunately, there is a financial burden there, with or without insurance. There's still costs that are incurred. But for those that are able to have those services for themselves, you can continue to come to get the support that you need.
So I want to take it back to the pandemic. That staggering percentage that has gone up. Out of that percentage, that 25%,
right? Globally. Yeah.
What demographic was hit the hardest? What? Yeah.
Yeah. So actually did some research just to be sure I could understand these numbers. Female population, demographic, Asian, Hispanic, and African American. And one thing about social work that I love is you just can't look at the data. You have to look at causal effects of why, right? So we had a pandemic. Remember, many of us were able to work from home. We were able to transition.
Right.
There are a lot of jobs, hard workers. You can't go home and do these jobs. So we're talking about, especially in the entertainment industry, right? We also look at hospitality industry, right? Those individuals were not able to go home and transition to telehealth. So that population were affected the most because they make up the most of those service opportunities that are there. So Asian, African American, and Hispanic women were affected due to the joblessness and the loss of opportunities, not being able to work.
Yeah.
Was there any correlation between the escalation of self harm or suicide during the time period of the pandemic? And if so, could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So there were some numbers out there that showed the increase of suicide, and some the ones that I am going to focus on today was really around the ideation. So that's really about the thought
Yeah.
of wanting to either, as we not even say anymore, commit suicide, but maybe have taken a life. But that process is a very strong process for a lot of people. And the numbers out there were showing a significant increase, not just in adult population, but adolescent population.
So
Right,
hold it
so,
there. I want
yeah.
you to keep it there for a second. So you talk about the adolescent population. What do you think is the main contributing factor to these children offing themselves? Because I'm not a clinical specialist, but I do believe that social media uh, plays an important part, not important, but a major player in with these adolescents because there's so much pressure today. It's not like when we grew up.
Yeah.
We didn't have those type of pressures. We had pressures, but not constantly in your face 24/7. So can you touch on that a little bit?
Well, of course, when we look at the different types of reasons that are, because there are a plethora of reasons, but when we look at like the broader aspect, we have to think about the conditioning process of the brain. There's a lot of things that affect just the brain conditioning process, and one of those would be social media. We also have the process just in of itself of change. And many of us go through difficulty with change just by not having our normal wants and needs met.
Right.
Right? Maybe we're not able to get to our favorite coffee place in the morning. And that's all of a sudden a change, right? Because we've not had a beverage. So imagine what happens when our entire country has now mandated and dictated that due to our safety, due to our lives, maintaining a sense of um, not being able to get ill, not dying, right? Because that was the message that was out there. You had to create this sense of social isolation. Now we have social isolation coming. We have immediate mandated dictated change that is coming, right? Which you had to kind of put yourself into. Now we have virtual learning happening. So children weren't even able to, many of them, leave homes. Some of them were also going to schools where school was more of a structured environment for them. Many teachers also, many administration also. So think about it, if you're leaving home to maybe go to work and be out in the community, out in the world to have escape, and now you're home where you're not going to be able to have the effects of being able to do that. So when we think about like, okay, yes, social media is there, but then we also have this process of the brain itself being affected by so many factors all at one time. And then social media certainly would have been one of them that would have been, created a great impact.
So I know that there were a lot of situations that created stressful environments. Some people lost their homes, so you had the blending of families where families had to merge. A brother or sister may have to move in with someone because they lost their home, and now you have, again, you have everybody in this kind of confined space. What are you seeing in your practice now that we've emerged from like the lockdown in terms of the family dynamic when it comes to mental health, mental wellness? Are you seeing where it had an impact on multiple people in the household who are now seeking maybe some therapeutic interventions? And if so, what does that look like?
Yeah, and most definitely. I mean, one thing about the family, that the family unit, the family system is always a huge support, right? Especially when it's healthy. Even when it's unhealthy sometimes, it's going to be the first support that many people recognize. But we do see that regardless of who is in the home, mental health does not pick and choose who it's going to affect. Everyone is susceptible. So from our younger children even to our older individuals. And thank goodness now services are there to really kind of focus in on the adolescent and younger adolescent population. certain types of therapies like play therapy and other therapies where you just focused on music and with art, all come forward to kind of focus in on the younger child and to be able to help them. Adolescent therapy and therapeutic models that can help. And then, of course, even now, more specifically for our older population, gerontology, um, different therapies there that can help for the older population, help assist with understanding. So that way, no one's left out.
Right.
Right. You can do individual, you can do group. And then it also depends on the role. Like, not all families are made up traditionally like our family, right? So we have same sex populations now. We have sometimes grandparents that are maintaining the home, right? And many times there are individuals there that are family by just by saying you're family, but there's no relation, but there's still connection. So even there with different makeup, you still want to be sure that people can receive the services that they need. And no one really should have to fall into a certain criteria, fall into a certain financial bracket, or even look a certain way in order to maintain mental health. You should be able to go at any point that you feel like you need to go and get services. It shouldn't be those stories that we hear on the news or when someone is having a break that they're seeking.
Is seeking mental health services is still as stigmatized as it's been in the past for people to come forward, self-identify to say that they are struggling and they do need support and therapeutic interventions. So does it still have the same stigma, or do you think that's changing?
I think it is shifting, but the stigma still exists, right? And it's not just because it's there. We have to look at different types of factors, and I always call them constructs because that's what they are. They're different types of, if you will, clouds of thinking that they don't go anywhere. We have to think about one, generations from time past created a lot of these because family was so unique and you manage things within the family. There's also religion, right? Another social construct. Certain religions do not allow or want that process of therapy to be engaged because the religion is there to create a basis of comfort and support and guidance and direction. So that's what you also have certain cultures where culturally it's just not accepted. So, but I feel like there are a lot of things now that are shifting because we're not the generation that we were before. And it is allowing, I think, people to come forward. Things are being very normalized now around mental health. We find even in elementary schools, children are doing yoga and mindfulness. So they're bringing these factors in. We hear a lot of terms coined now, self care, right? So a lot of the self care process is coming in. And I even say care for self. I've kind of separated it out because self care is when you focus on something that you know is going to make you feel good. But a lot of times we have situations going on like loss, bereavement, natural disasters, and again, even the effects of the pandemic, where something that I do isn't going to just make me immediately feel good. But if I can care for myself through my senses, do check-ins, honor my breath, give myself a moment to maybe bring mindfulness in, then over time I'm learning how to create a different effect for myself. It doesn't allow me to stay so concrete and structured in what might not be helping my overall mental health, especially again when we talk about factors that affect the brain and then create processes of conditioning. And then now we have these new behaviors that don't support a healthy mental health process.
So I do have another question in regards to mental health. Can you tell the audience what are some of the signs for yourself as well as your loved ones if they happen to see these signs within you? How can they help you get over that, and where can they go? Or if it's you.
And I always say if it's the individual or family, if you see something, say something. We all know normal process of everyone. And I always use these three words: persistent, consistent, and debilitating. Right? First we go for just the natural things, the things we normally do when we get up in the morning. Wash our face or brush our teeth. We may even put something on even if we're not going out. If that is a persistent, consistent, and debilitating process that you no longer see, i.e. the person's not maintaining hygiene. They're not worried about, not just like worried about what you have on, the clothes aren't clean. Things are significantly disheveled. No energy, low energy, not eating more, right, than what's normally required, especially if it's like a binging type process where a lot of food is being consumed. Right. We also have just the increase in the normal process. all of a sudden this increase in more activity, wanting to do more, to feel more satisfied. So we really want to just notice the normal patterns and just start seeing if they're shifting. We all feel good sometimes and just want to do a little bit extra. But again, we're talking about things that are persistent, consistent, or either debilitating, that we really start seeing the significant shift. With children, it's almost the same. We start seeing them isolate, go by themselves. Same thing with adults. Activities aren't important anymore, and this could be something that you would have enjoyed doing all the time, and now all of a sudden it's not being done at all. Right. And again, over a significant period of time, where you just start noticing this isn't getting done, or maybe it's just been sitting and all of a sudden collecting dust. So just again, our normal habits, which make us human, which keep us connected and create connectedness with people, if we start to see that. And I always say, if you see something, hear something, say something, because no one will know besides yourself if you are experiencing this. And hopefully, your family around you can act quickly and help you to support you to get the support you need. If you are alone, because I know something else that we had talked about before was like, if you don't have insurance, right? If you don't have the ability to kind of go out and obtain services, even there you have, even if I'm uninsured, let's say I am insured, there's still a wait list. If I decide to call today for services, I may be waiting weeks before I can get an appointment, right? So, we have to look at factors like that. In the inner city, where we have a whole population of individuals that might be disenfranchised, we talk about food resources, there's also going to be a scarcity of resources around mental health supports, right? And that could be due to funding. It could be due to locale, depending on where you are. I may live in the inner city, but I still might not have the ability to get to that inner city location, right? Especially if I'm not working, different factors like that. Think about rural areas in the Midwest, where you're not going to find a multitude of services like we do in the inner city. If you're in the mountain area, same thing. So this affects a lot of different people across the board, different races and cultures that don't have immediate access to social services or even mental health support. Luckily now, though, especially since the pandemic, there's been a lot that our federal government has done, and due to grassroots efforts, organizations that still exist. So we have NAMI, which is the National Association for Mental Health. There's SAMHSA, which is Substance Abuse and Mental Health. We also have the National Mental Health Institute, right? You have a lot of colleges and universities, like Brown University, for instance, that continuously put out reports that just really help us understand the numbers and the information that comes back, like for instance, from questionnaires like the ACE, because doctors and organizations are maintaining and helping those things come through. So,
Thank you for that. That was a lot of good information. Um, so I have a question. When a person comes in and they're looking for support, if they have a co-occurring situation where they have the mental health and maybe they started off by self-medicating, so now they also have a dependency, would they get therapy in the same setting for those co-occurring situations, or would they separate those two? What does that look like?
yeah, I think it really depends on where you're going for support services. Sometimes you can one stop shop and everything will be there. It also depends on the experience of the therapist. For me, I don't normally work with populations that have substance abuse, so that wouldn't be appropriate for me to manage. However, being able to refer out, so we keep information on hand for individuals that may need it. That way, if they are coming with co-occurring situations, we make sure each thing is getting addressed. It shouldn't just be a blanketed process. Many times you do have to start somewhere, but you tend to understand which one might be more significant. So, for instance, if someone is coming in managing one thing, but that might be more prominent, you may help them or initially provide support, but definitely helping them seek out what they need to address first as the primary. And then we always just come back, right? That's why that support is there. So once you hopefully get the abuse, substance use treatment, then come back into your additional support for your anxiety and your depression or whatever else that you're experiencing.
That takes me to just another quick question. When you have someone who's coming to you that has like the co-occurring situations, in your practice, what are you? Is there ever a time where where you start to see more of? Like I'm former law enforcement, right? There were times where we start. There are crimes across the board, but then we might say, man, there's really an uptick in burglaries. There's really we're starting to see more of this. In your field, is there any diagnosis or any mental health condition that you're seeing more of, or is it just kind of spread out all across the board?
It really is because it depends on the individual. It depends on the environment. I primarily work with individuals who are managing anxiety and depression. And I also do couples therapy, but normally that's what they're managing, anxiety or some type of depression within that relationship. But just with what I'm seeing, it's pretty consistent what individuals are experiencing. A lot of effects from the pandemic, a lot of effects sometimes just from their own health or health of the family. We also have situations where individuals are trying to support the marital relationship, so they're coming in for individual therapy. But again, we are coming out of year 3 of the pandemic.
Right.
Remember, though, because we've had to kind of condition ourselves to get through the pandemic, now we're starting to feel the effects of coming out of the pandemic. It's almost like our super capes are kind of like wearing thin finally.
Right.
And we're really starting to feel the effects of everything that we had to go into go mode on.
Gotcha.
Right. And now we're dealing with it. One thing though is, thank goodness, the federal government actually saw what was happening as far as the World Health Organization and those numbers. And in July, I believe, of 2022, began a crisis hotline. So just like we can call 911 for emergencies, for mental health support services, you can now call 988. Actually, immediately get someone on the phone. 988. So that's an important thing that actually came out of the pandemic right in 2022 when they started seeing those numbers get high. And again, when we talk about grassroots efforts of understanding, there were definitely groups out there talking about we need to make sure people can get the immediate support that they need. And you're not going to be able to immediately get therapy on the phone, but sometimes it's about getting a voice. It's about getting a person that says, thank you for calling. I'm hearing this is what you're going through. And at least being able to connect you to some other support services to get a person on the phone. We all know AI is actually coming forward right now. But when it comes to mental health, like nothing can beat having an actual person,
voice on
human
that other
being
end,
on the other line that can actually help an individual navigate wherever they are and hopefully find those support services.
Well, Katrese, I have to say this was very powerful, impactful, and a much needed conversation for all, like you said, across all demographics. Because this is an area, unfortunately, that is on the rise, and you just really provided a plethora of great information. So we want to thank you for coming on the show, but we also want to know, like, for you as an individual professional, if someone wanted to reach out to you, if they wanted to, get your services, where can they locate you? Or how can they find you?
Well, I'm located in the South Jersey area. The practice that I'm with is actually in Medford, New Jersey.
Okay.
I can actually in Psychology Today, and that's where a lot of my colleagues and other individuals can actually be found, depending on what services you're looking for and what you feel like you're experiencing. So definitely, I would say reach out to those different types of resources like Psychology Today, other resources. You'll be able to go right to your area and hopefully find support services that you need.
Thank you for that.
Thank you guys. I appreciate you guys having me.
And lastly, for someone that's looking at our show right now, who may not be in the best place, I know you said 988. Like, just in a few words, what would you say to someone that either has a family member that they know are just not in the right space, or they themselves just are not feeling like they're in the right space?
Yeah, I always say, like, you're not alone. When you think you are, just give yourself that one glimmer of hope that if something could be different, what is it? Don't try to gravitate to everything. Gravitate to something, even if it's small. That one small thing gives you the ability to gravitate to the next small thing. And I always say small things. If you see something, if you hear something, say something. Don't wait until it's fully impacting you, fully creating this sense of feeling so rigid that you can't move through it. Allow allow yourself the ability to just say something to somebody, even if it's not large, so that you start the process to talk about it. And most importantly, if you do have some type of medical professional that you can reach out to, start talking to your doctor, talk to your dentist, talk to someone
Somebody
that you're actually
absolutely
able to go in to see, so that maybe they can help you make that connection that you need.
Thank you.
Yeah,
great
thank you guys. I
information.
appreciate you having me.
But I do have to ask Miss Katrese before you leave, because for those of you who don't know Miss Katrese, like I do, I know you are a sister of the leaf as well. I know you're a sister of the leaf.
Yes.
Anytime we have a guest on the show, we gotta ask the standard question.
Yeah.
When did you fall in love with the stick?
Oh my God.
And what was
like
the
my
occasion?
other favorite question. When did I fall in love with hip hop? But that's for another
Yes,
conversation,
yes.
right? When did I fall in love with the leaf? Oh my goodness. I think it was maybe about 7 years ago. I wasn't even a smoker. But you.
Vegas.
Oh, we're going to Vegas. Oh, well, we have to go to a cigar bar. Well, I'm not
Yes.
a smoker.
Yes.
I don't understand. What is this? We went to Caesar's Cigar Bar.
Yes, we did. You and my girlfriend all did. She was allergic to the stick as well.
Best experience ever. First of all, the aesthetics of the space.
Yes,
took me away.
Beautiful.
Understanding what a cigar is, not just this tobacco-filled piece of paper. I feel like I was able to really gravitate to something that was me.
Right.
There were spices, there were aromatics, there was the taste, and I was like, that's all me. I'm very like cinnamon,
yes,
nutmeg, and a little spicy with the black pepper, right? Finding all those things in one cigar, and it was just the right level of what I needed to just give me a sense of calm and peace. And I was like, this isn't something that was overwhelming. This is not something that's like taking my breath away and making me feel heavy. So I feel like for me, I found something that I needed. I found that niche. And with that and an old fashioned,
I'm done. It's all about the experience. It's right. It's not just about the cigar. It's about the experience and the way it makes you feel, and then just the connection.
And that's what we had. That's what we had that day at the cigar bar. It was the best moment ever, and I haven't stopped since. So.
See that? Sister Leaf, educated, dropping gems tonight. We love it. So once again, thank you, Katrese, for being on and providing that much needed information tonight. So thank you.
Thank you guys. It's a pleasure to be here.
We appreciate the insight.
Thank you.
And we'll be right back.
Welcome back, SBS family. Thank you all for joining us today and being a part of this important conversation about mental health. It's clear that together we can break down the barriers of stigma and offer support to those who need it most. Remember, mental health is not something to be ashamed of. It's a part of being human, and seeking help is a sign of strength, not weakness. We all face challenges, and it's okay to reach out for support and lean on one another. As we conclude today's show, let's carry this knowledge with us, knowing that understanding, empathy, and compassion can make a significant difference in someone's life. Let's be the light that helps others find their way through a darkness of mental health struggles. If you or someone you know is struggling, reach out. Please contact the Mental Health Hotline 988, or reach out to a friend, a family member, or a mental health professional. There's help, there's hope, and there's a bright future awaiting us all. So once again, thank you all for joining us today. Until next time, take care.